Hi everyone, and welcome to the webinar. I'm David Johnson. I'm the CEO of Delivering Asia Communications, and this is, would you believe it, the 23rd collaboration of webinars that we've done with C9 HotelWorks, led by Bill Barnett, who's with us today. The reason we've come back to this topic, so today we have white label session, the sequel, and the reason we've come back to this topic is because it's just been incredibly hot. It's been so popular. It's a top 3 topic that we've done, and it really is the topic of its day because there's the industry is obviously going through change and it's struggling in many ways. So we have a lot of new acronyms. We've got TPOs. We're talking about soft brands. We're talking about franchise, and we've put together a team of speakers today to really help us navigate what is happening. So there's going to be some direct experiences, and then there's going to be some anecdotes about and advice from our speakers. So we've got 400 people on today, and thank you so much for joining. Our speakers going from the top, and it's going to be in this order. We have David Ray. David Ray is the Senior Vice President of Wyndham Destinations. We have James Kim. James Kim is the President, Siamese and Q Green Management Company in Thailand, and also Chief Overseas Development and Operations Officer of CTG Group. We have Lada, who's a partner with us worldwide. We have Bill Barnett, obviously, who's going to be interviewing Clarence Tan a little bit later. And Clarence is the Principal and Corporate Advisor at Valor Hospitality. We have Tom S. Bayun, who is the CEO of Pcl Hospitality. And well, that's our lineup today. And just a couple of quick housekeeping points. This session is going to be recorded. So about an hour after it, we will be sending you the links so you can review it, have a look at the presentations. And in terms of questions, please put in your questions in the Q&A function at the end, and we'll get to those. We'll get to those after the session, so we're just going to run through. Okay, fantastic. Let's get going. David Ray, could I hand over to you, please, David?
Sure. Welcome, everyone. A couple of, just a quick disclaimer up front. I was previously the SVP for development for Wyndham Hotel Group, which offers franchises. I've now left that role and I'm now with Wyndham Destinations. And interestingly enough, Wyndham Destinations now offers the opportunity of third-party management. So I just wanted to give that disclaimer up front. So let me just start by sharing a screen. And this worked, but no, there we go. We had a little bit of a lag before. There we go.
Perfect.
So the first thing I guess you need to think about is the new brand. So decisions. Just to give you an idea of some of the companies that are offering franchise out there in the marketplace. I don't think this is too far removed from the truth of the picture of the companies. So again, as I said, Wyndham had over 9,000 franchises, so we were one of the largest. So let's say you've decided on your brand. Before you actually decide on that brand, let's look around your neighborhood. Have a look and see what other brands are there. What other brands are going to compete against you? If you choose a Ramada, are you going to be competing against a Ramada down the road? Analyze your market pre-COVID and obviously post-COVID. To give you an example, there is a hotel in Vietnam that is affiliated with a casino, and they spent a lot of time looking at brands. They ended up choosing Radisson. And the only reason they chose Radisson, they told me, was because of its high propensity of Russian membership in terms of their loyalty program. The Russians wanted to always go to the Radisson, and that tied into a casino. Then we talk about fees. So you've got to decide, what percentage of fees are you going to pay? Now, it's all very well for franchise companies to turn up and quote you a percentage, but how much in real dollars is that really going to cost you? Brand standards. Brand standards are I guess, the true defining nature of any of our big corporate brands. But how much control will they place on your property? Remember, it's your property, so you need to work out how much control one of the international brands will place. Exclusivity. Will they place another brand? They say they will place a different tier brand, but will it be a competitor down the road to you? The CRS system. Are you still able to use your existing CRS system at your property? Or is it going to be mandated that you must spend money and you must buy one of the very expensive CRS systems? The integration. The CRS system, does it integrate with your front office system? These are just some of the things that you need to think of when you're looking at a franchise. And then, of course, more importantly, there's the costs. The costs are not just the base franchise fee, not just the base management fee. They come into all sorts of costs: your uniform, your signage, your stationery, all your amenities. What is going to be the impact if you go down this track of a third-party operator or a franchise structure? So, okay, you've decided on your brand. You've done your homework, as I just mentioned. Now you've got to work out who's going to run the resort. Because I'll put money on it that the chances are that if you own this resort or this hotel, it's not your core business. Your core business may be in automotive dealerships. It may be in manufacturing. It may be in building condo apartments. But if it's not your core business, you now need to choose a manager and who's going to operate that property. The options are obviously the traditional brand, such as a Wyndham or an Accor or any of those brands coming in and managing your property and delivering the brand. You've got to pay a base fee and an incentive fee. That's how management contracts are structured. So what's the benefit of going with a third party or a smaller operator? Well, often they can be possibly friendlier. They can be more flexible. They may have some leverage with the brands that you cannot possibly ever obtain. For example, there's a company in America that has more than 1,400 branded and independent properties across 20 countries. Now, they've worked with all the different brands. They don't just work with one brand, they work with many brands. And so effectively, there's an opportunity there to look exactly and find the winning structure that you really want for your properties. Some of these smaller management companies charge less fees than a typical hotel brand manager. They have more local knowledge, right? There's the ability, I guess, for them to get a little bit more in the weeds. They can also, as I've seen in the past, become your friendly asset manager. So again, you're then bringing in an asset manager, an operator, and a brand. So let's pause for a minute and have a look at the traditional management model. The traditional management model, we've got the hotel owner at the top of the screen. They obviously bring in a brand, as I've already mentioned. Sorry, I am getting a little bit blind these days. I could say COVID's done something, but I'd be lying. It'd just be glasses and getting old. Branding. Obviously, with the branding, they'll deliver the distribution system. They'll deliver the loyalty program. And a loyalty program these days is something to be very, very aware of. Many guests are still driven by points. They're still driven to try and get those free nights. So a loyalty program that is solid with some of the big companies is a real godsend. Brand marketing, obviously they'll do the brand marketing, they'll do some training for you, they'll offer the technical services. They'll also then, you'll also need to then have an asset manager as well. So let's look now at the next model. There we go. The third-party management company. So the third-party management company comes into play. This time they're at the top. They're going to receive from the hotel owner the same sort of fees, a base fee and an incentive fee, but you can quite likely rely on the fact that that will be a little bit less than the corporate companies. And then obviously, as I said, they can be the hotel asset manager. But again, they're backed up with the hotel company brand. So you end up actually being in a position of strength where you've got the third party operator and you've got the hotel company brand. I guess some other models and benefits to consider. Family. If you've got family that are involved in the hotel, maybe you want them to run the hotel, and then you definitely do need a franchise model. Condo sales. If you want to sell condos, you need a brand. It will help sell and grow those sales of condos. Pushing the boundaries. Mixed use. To give you an example there, we looked at a project in Vietnam where it was mixed use, and we also agreed that we would operate the shopping centre and do all the cleaning of the shopping centre. So again, your third-party operator can start to deliver and look outside the square a little bit more with some of these things. Wyndham Destinations, this is my quick plug, Bill. Again, we will look outside the square at different ways of, can we deliver? Can we buy some units in the resort? Can we do something with timeshare? And I guess the third thing is, it's taken off already in Europe. It's taken off in America. It's bound to take off in Asia. Thank you.
David, thank you. Some great points there. There was one point I didn't quite understand, though. Get in the weeds. What does that mean, get in the weeds? Is that the devil is in the detail?
Yeah, it's a traditional Australian saying. We say it out here in the bush when you need to get in the weeds for various personal reasons, and you just really need to fossick around and see what's underneath the bonnet.
Right, that's great. David Ray, thank you so much for that. There's some really interesting. Please stick around. We're going to. There's a number of questions coming in already, and we'll ask those towards the end. Right, James Kim, President, Siamese and Q Green Management Company. James, thanks for joining us today. You need to unmute, please.
Oh, yes.
There we go.
Thank you,
there we
David.
go.
Yeah.
Thanks for joining us and tearing yourself away from the results of some election going on somewhere that I've heard of. That's great. I'm really interested to find out about Q Green. I know you're in the UK, for example, and then we'll talk about your experience in Asia. What David's saying is very interesting too, because a lot of these models, these new innovative models, are coming into this part of the world, and they're really resonating. Tell me a little bit about the Q Green model in the UK, please.
Yeah, Q Green Management Company is quite well known in UK, but outside UK it started to be known. Q Green is one of the largest third-party management companies in UK. We manage under 3 different types. One is we own and we manage. And second one is we manage the other owner's property under management agreement. And we also manage the independent, non-branded hotels as well. Okay. We currently working, we are the also largest IHG franchises in Europe, and also we work with Hilton and Marriott.
Right, thanks. You have how many properties in the UK?
We own 42. Now we are managing 55 hotels.
Okay. And what's the importance of scale? I mean, is there a requirement to have some scale to be a TPO or TPM?
I think scale is quite important for us and for many management company, because to prove your performance record or expertise and experience easier, and you also can provide well-established supporting system, and also purchasing power and market recognition, meaning by the guest, by the potential owner, and also your staff. So I think scale is quite important as well.
Yeah, that's great stuff. Tell us a little bit about your experience of bringing this model into Thailand. I mean, why did you choose Thailand in the first place as your point of entry, for example?
I think, we all know that Thailand is the most visited travel destination in the world. And also, Thailand is the most visited country, especially for Chinese travelers last year. Okay, everybody likes traveling to China. Our aim was to set up the company in one of prime destination, such as in Thailand or Indonesia. But we selected Thailand. We are lucky to find our partner as well. Okay, and this will also give Q Management Company an opportunity to prove our management potentials and also capabilities before moving forward to other Southeast Asian countries.
Well, that's great. And your partner in Thailand is a developer and builder.
Yes.
Right.
It's developer.
Right. Developer. So Siamese asset. So your model in Thailand is essentially condo hotels, as far as I understand it. Is that correct? Yeah.
And how brand residence? Yes.
Right. Okay. And how's it been received?
I think so far most of residents are very happy about the residence will be managed by Siamese and Q Management Company under reputed brand name. I think it's David Ray just mentioned as well, because they know that eventually this will give them an opportunity, value increase in the future. Okay, and also we are one of the early adapters in this market in terms of third-party management companies. Okay, and also we are very lucky to find a joint venture company, Siamese Assets. Okay, who are also developing about 10 projects in Bangkok mainly. Okay, and I think this is a very good joint venture cooperation. Is a win-win situation for the Siamese asset, is because they are the property owner, but at the same time they are the partner of management company as well. So in this way, we can avoid a lot of potential conflicts between management company and the property owner, because we are sharing the responsibility and also sharing the benefit as well.
No, that's great. I mean, it's extraordinary. It's extraordinary that there's development going on at a time like this, which is fantastic. Tell us a little bit about some of the operational efficiencies too with this model.
Yeah, in terms of cost and operational efficiency, for example, we need to set up only one team and can manage two or multiple projects in a complex, which is not allowed normally under brand direct management. Okay, in this way, we are very cost effective and consistent in managing the properties.
Right, the ownership of Q Green, the ownership is CTG. Could you tell us a little bit about this relationship?
Yeah, CTG, Q Green is owned 100% by CTG Hotels. Okay, and CTG Hotel own, manage, and also almost 100 hotels on the Metro Park brand in China, and also CTG Hotel has around 16 million members. Okay, by working with us, on top of brand-owned reservation contribution, we can support our overseas sister hotels by utilizing our own Metro Park customer base in China. Okay, which is very unique compared to other management companies. And also we set up a special sales team in Beijing office to support those hotels' revenues and the businesses.
Right. So CTG, for anyone who wasn't sure, is a China travel group. Is that correct?
Yeah, China Tourism Group. And also another point is that, we found everybody knows that now the property development in Thailand is mainly the major client is Chinese. And by working with us, cooperating with us, you will have an opportunity to expose your properties to China's potential buyers. Only to us is already 16 million members. This is a big exposure for the property developers as well.
Yeah, how have you how have the sales been going for that from the Chinese market into Thailand during COVID too? It's obviously a very difficult time.
Not a good time, because normally, even though you buy a car, you want to see the car and have a test drive, right? You're buying a property by a few million, baht. You want to see your property and you want to check your location. So at this moment, even though many property owners, developers are offering discounts, but still very sluggish. But I'm sure that it will come very soon, because China is one of destination and also countries that Thailand is targeting to open market very soon.
No, that's great. And one final question for you, James, but before you go, you brought this model to Thailand. Are you looking at it for any other countries, Vietnam, for example, or I mean, you talked about Indonesia, Philippines?
Yeah, sure. We are looking for an opportunity, definitely. Okay. So it can be a joint venture, but can be also a pure management agreement under third party or under brand, franchises as well.
Fantastic, James, Kim. I really much appreciate your insights there into what Q Green's doing. It's a very innovative model, and it's TPM, if you like, or a TPO concept. Thank you. Right, okay. We are going to go to Lada. Lada is the partner of Withers Worldwide. Lada, what have you got for us today?
Thanks a lot, David. Welcome, everyone. I hope you're keeping well, and I'll try to keep it short and sweet today. So let's dive in straight away. And our first slide, please, Sumi. We'll quickly run through the benefits of the franchise umbrella that David Ray already mentioned briefly. So first of all, the owner has a full operational control and cost management when it comes to a franchise model, while still benefiting from all the benefits of brand affiliation, be it access to loyalty program, access to reservation system, direct bookings, access to procurement system, and pretty much all other benefits that are inherent in the brand affiliation. Now, what is the difference, you may ask, between the classic HMA with a branded operator and the scenario where you have a white label or TPO that is managing the property under franchise? Now, there is a lot of concerns when the owners start to engage and embrace this concept. There are a lot of concerns around doubling up of fees or potential risks, risk allocation. And frankly, they find usually they find this model complicated unless and until they literally break it down into pieces to understand the benefits. So I would like to address those concerns to the concept I can. And first of all, let's remember that unless an owner has a strong in-house capability, be it an asset management team, a revenue management team, a marketing team, or an IT, all of those specialist experts that have to be in-house in order to be able to manage the property yourself under a franchise umbrella. In all other circumstances, it is extremely important to decide whether you're going to go with a direct branded management or with the TPO or white label under a franchise. So let's see what are the actual differences between the classic HMA model and a white label model. First of all, the major important difference is the alignment of business interests. Now, if you look at the classic HMA arrangement, it is very natural for a branded operator to prioritize the interest of a hotel chain and to prioritize the interest of a brand. This is a very natural need because brand value is the unique selling proposition. As a result, we have circumstances where the needs and interests of the brand and the brand chain as a whole are actually prevailing, and there is a natural conflict of interest potentially with the interest of a given property and a given owner. Now, that natural conflict of interest does not exist in the circumstances of a white label operator simply because it's white label. There is no conflict between white label and the owner. And in order to further differentiate themselves from branded operators, what white label operators would usually do is they tend to offer very flexible and creative fee structures. They can be either pegging their management fees to advanced AGOP structures, or sometimes even pegging to the owner's bottom line. We even actually saw the examples where the white label operator would peg their management fee to the incremental increase of the owner's bottom line that this white label operator delivers. Now, of course, the ultimate management fee structure depends on location and market fundamentals, on the owner's identity and the white label operator positioning. But what it means in a nutshell, that the white label operators have that ability to be agile and to be flexible, which is not necessarily what the large scale operators can offer. So basically what we say when we say about the white label operators, that they are there in sickness and health. Now, the other thing that is important to mention is the franchisor's perspective. Most franchisors will be very delighted to know that the owner is engaging a white label operator, because they have their peace of mind that there is a professional team of experts that will be driving the property and will be managing the property up to a brand standard. Ultimately, franchisor needs to make sure that the brand standards are complied with, and having a white label operator that is skilled and has an expertise in doing so makes that a huge difference for a franchisor. Now, in the big picture, we know that it's a truly unique win-win situation, right? And the only trick is you need to structure it, the whole project correctly. So let's look at the structuring and risk allocation from a legal perspective. First of all, the franchise agreement is typically signed between the franchisor and the owner directly. So then the owner has a separate management agreement with a white label operator. But before the owner can do that, the franchisor has to approve a white label operator. At that stage, the franchisor would look at the capabilities and the background of the team to make sure they're capable to do a great job under that particular brand. Second thing that franchisor will look at is whether a white label operator is a competitor. Now, there are a lot of flavors and colors around what is the competitor, but ultimately, in a nutshell, it is important that the white label operator is not controlled by any other branded operator that is competing with a franchisor in any markets in Asia and beyond. So once the approval is granted, that approval is personal to a white label operator, and it cannot be assigned or transferred to any third party. Once the approval is granted, the next step is for the franchisor to approve a management contract between the owner and the white label operator. It is not the franchisor's intention to micromanage the relationship and private arrangements between an owner and the white label operator, but what the franchisor is looking for is to make sure that the management contract has sufficient protection of franchisor's IP rights and sufficient requirements for white label to comply with brand standards. So once the franchisor approves the management contract, the next step is finally the owner can sign a management contract with the white label operator. And concurrently with that, the white label operator would need to enter into so-called acknowledgement instrument. This is an instrument. It can be either an instrument that only a white label operator signs, or it can be a tripartite instrument signed by all the stakeholders, by which the white label operator basically confirms that it will comply with the franchise agreement and it will respect the IP and the brand of the franchisor and respect the brand standards. Now let's look at the risk allocation, right, in this model. So structuring is something that we already touched bases, not based on. Let's look at the risk allocation. The risk allocation, the owner has to always remember that no matter what happens at the property, the owner is ultimately responsible for anything that happens in the property to the franchisor. Franchisor will always ask the owner and will always first address its claim to the owner. But this is no different than any other arrangement in the market, be it direct classic management, be it franchise. It is always the case. It's a constant that doesn't change. But then having a myriad of relationship with supplier service providers and white label operator, the owner may have a certain recourse if the breach actually took place on the part of the service provider or a white label operator. So again, it is important of how you structure your relationship with a white label operator. And finally, this is the final slide, which I would like to look at the practicalities of implementation of this structure. You would ask why, if this particular scenario, if this particular structure is so popular elsewhere in the world, in Europe and US, why it's not necessarily that popular and booming in Asia as yet? Well, the first answer is basically Asia is an emerging market. Most of the countries are still emerging markets, and all the established concepts from Europe and US would gradually come and be established here, and we are actually already embarking on that path. But the other reason why specifically in Asia there might be challenges in certain countries is because the legislation of different countries in Asia may be quite prescriptive when it comes to specifically franchise. And that micromanagement can be pretty toxic for franchise model, for the fundamental pillars of the franchise model, which means that the franchisor has to be really careful when entering the market and has to do some major risk assessment on a country by country basis, and as a result have contingency planning in place to make sure it can protect its brand and brand standards in each particular country. So impossible is nothing. It doesn't mean that you can't have it. It's just that both parties have to be quite creative in those countries to make this happen. Yeah, that's pretty much everything that I wanted to say, and I hope you keep well. Thank you very much. We will power through. Thank you.
Lara, thank you so much. Lara, partner with us worldwide. Some really, really good and interesting insights there. Hey, I'm gonna pass this back to Mr. Barnett, and because Bill Barnett's going to be talking to Clarence Tan shortly. Bill.
Thanks, David. Hi from Phuket, and actually we're going to have something for you at the end of this because you're going to have to say Lada's last name. So between now and last session, we've noticed you only avoided one last name, so you can practice between now and then. Hi, Clarence. How are you?
Good afternoon, David, and good afternoon, Bill. Good to be here.
I could be David, but there's two Davids already there.
I know. Chill.
I got to say, you're looking pretty svelte. You've been using COVID time well. Have you been biking, or what are you doing?
I've been taking the time off to basically recharge, rejuvenate, and basically look after my body. I think that we all live a long life. We all hope that this COVID will pass. And when it does, we all need the energy to fight the battles that we need to fight. And I've got four young kids, so I need to survive.
We all want to survive. I want to live. Okay, I get this. We all want to live. Okay. TPO, interesting. You've been kind of a lifelong brand guy in terms of working with hotel chains and everything else, but you've got a new reincarnation. It's like the second coming of Clarence, right? Valor Hospitality. Who's Valor?
Well, Valor was founded about 10 years ago. Their first foray was in the US. They adopted a white knight strategy, i.e. a win-win approach, i.e. similar to what CDG and James basically mentioned. They come in their own capital, they look for opportunities, they partner with existing owners and drive value, right? Ewan started this 10 years ago, and they've been pretty strong in the US and UK, and also forayed recently into third-party unbranded hotels into South Africa. So we're about 60 hotels strong and very young in Asia, only about 2 years old.
Okay. I think one of the interesting things about this whole subject is, I was looking at STR numbers, and as far as STR hotels in Southeast Asia, there's about 8,700 units, or about that number. 80% of those units are 80% of those hotels are independent hotels. So when we look at market size, to have 80% of these hotels unbranded, that's like going to be such a sweet spot for opportunity coming through COVID as well, saying all these properties out there. Do you think, you've been through crisis before, you've been through SARS, you've been through the financial downturn in 08, 09. How do you think COVID's going to react to a brand? Is it going to be a flight to brand again?
Look, if you are sitting on the other side with a big brand, you'll be a flight to brand because of everything that is mentioned about big brands, loyalty systems, and processes. But personally, for me, I think the next 24 months, I don't think they'll see a flight to brand. I think it's a flight to survival and a flight to relationships, right? One of the things I see happening is that a lot of big brand companies are also scaling back. And why there's an opportunity for third operating parties like us sitting around the table is that we are in the market, we have knowledge, we are close to the owners, and we can react and we are nimble. And there's just a lot of things that big brand operators used to have, but they are not able to do that going forward because of sizing down and redundancies that we see so sadly across the group.
I think something David Ray said earlier was interesting, because you've got asset management, you've got brand, you've got the white label companies. Do you think some of those disciplines are going to start molding together, where you're seeing more comprehensive offerings, where you're going to see, potentially with a TPO or something, also looking after asset management, having more services, so you don't need to have this horizontal type of situation?
Yeah, I do see that happening, but at the same time, I don't see the third-party operators getting too complex, mirroring what big brand operators are, because it's just too expensive to have somebody for almost every occasion. So you need to be clear about what your brand offering as a TPO, and partners with the likes of agencies and consultants in and around the market, share the pie. And it's all about doing the right thing for the owners. In this market, it's not about what you can do for the owners, it's about collectively the industry can do for the industry. So I believe that the industry will come out stronger, and there are lots of talent out in the industry, whether you're QO doing marketing, as we saw in the last series, or you are an agency like Living Hotel Asia, trying to champion what's out there for the hotel industry. So I believe more in partnerships than rather than building a big platform.
Okay. Something interesting, I was talking to a white label operator the other day who's within Asia, and they said, when they're looking at opportunities, they can have a brand on top, but they can also produce, but they feel they can produce premium gross operating profits as a white label operator. They feel they're a little more efficient, behind that scenario. So ultimately, they're going to have the top level with the brand, but also they're also delivering better returns. Do you think TPOs could be better than brands in terms of delivering bottom line?
That's our aim, right? Yeah, short answer is that's our aim, and that's because of the knowledge we have in the market, the experiences we have operating in those markets. And to be fair, TPOs don't have the added challenge of system size growth like many of the big operators are. So our dedication on a one-to-one relationship with the respective owners is a lot closer, and we'll probably listen better, and we have more time of day for all of them. Because like what CTG mentioned, right, we have skin in the game.
Yeah. I mean, something that's interesting for me with TPOs are dominant in North America, they're dominant in Europe. And usually when brands come and say, oh, we've got, this is how we drive RevPAR or occupancies better than non-branded properties. But in reality, most of those are TPOs who are delivering those. So it's also interesting how that revenue is being driven by TPOs as well in other markets, certainly here. Within Asia, I don't know, which markets are really attractive to Valor?
Well, definitely Thailand, Vietnam, and a keen eye into China as well.
You talk about survival and everything else in terms of hotel operators, coming through this crisis. I was still old enough to remember 1997, in terms of the actual carnage we had. Taking a look forward into 2021, 22, what do you think the landscape's going to be in terms of hospitality? I've spoken to a lot of owners, they're worried, they're saying our business is retracting. Do you think it's going to come back in terms of the scale we were in a couple of years, or is it a downward trajectory?
Well, hoteliers always blue sky people, right? So we definitely believe that the industry will come back and will bounce back. And hopefully, like in previous crises, come back a lot stronger. And I'm very hopeful that Thailand will bounce back strong. As I lived in Thailand before, it's always like a ping pong ball. It bounces down, but it ricochets up pretty quickly. But I do fear for 2021, I do think it's a longer protracted recovery. For all intents and purposes, we had a proper Q1 this year. We will look at Q1 next year in a different light. Most of the governments are actually helping out, printing money with monetary and fiscal policy, supporting the industries and the economy. How that will continue in 2021 is anybody's guess. A lot of us are hoping for 2020 to disappear and welcome 2021, but with a caveat, with at least some hope that 2021 will be better than 2020. Having said that, right, we see green shoots already happening in China. That gives everybody hope. We see travel bubbles or air bridges being formed. and more of the open skies coming through, especially in Asia. But I do see that the clustering of the region will happen a lot more. There'll be more inter-regional, intra-regional travel, less of the long haul, until we get past the immunity passports.
Okay, I love your optimism. I know, Clarence, we're going to be back with questions and answers later. In terms of predicting my future, I don't know. You know, depending how today or tonight goes for the election, I may be moving to Tasmania or not be. Let's see if, you know, if I'm still here by the end of the seminar, let's see what happens. But back to you, David, and we're going to have questions for you, Clarence, later on. Thanks so much.
Thank you. Thanks, Bill. What election is my my question to you? You know, never heard of an election going on today. We're going to get on to Tom. Tom S. Prayun. Tom, are you still with us? The CEO of Pcl Hospitality. Tom.
Yes. Hello. Good afternoon to you. Okay.
Excellent. Very good afternoon to you too. What have you got for us, please?
Right. I'm just share the screen. Can you see the screen?
Yes. Very good. TPOs.
Right. Exactly. Now, just first of all, thank you, David. Thank you, Bill, for the opportunity. I think I've been hearing a lot of my colleagues on the bigger company. Let me just start off my little presentation. First of all, a bit controversial here, but I would like to say that franchising is not for everybody. Okay, it's not for everybody. Now, there are some perception, there are some myths. Now, first of all, a lot of owners that come to us basically talk about, is franchise the cheaper option? I don't know, but maybe that is not the first question we should be asking. Now, there are owners that coming to us and basically just need a coach as a third party. And I think that's not a bad thing. However, I think there are many other options if the owner want a coach and the owners, they want to get engaged with the day-to-day management of the business. There are many other options which I can discuss that later. And the third of all, I think some of the owners come to us and basically thinks that a third-party operator can guarantee profit and income. Well, international operators can't. We can't, and I don't think anyone actually can. But the lower of the risk, yes. But guaranteed income for the return of investment, we would like to say probably no. Now, before I begin, let me just start off with the Pcl Hospitality and who we are. We've established in 2015 as a company. We actually have the in-house project management team with newly built and renovation projects. So we actually work with a lot of operators on projects from the beginning all the way up until the end. I have the in-house team here, which architects, helping owners, also helping the international technical teams, like the bigger brand, coordinate all the designs and get all that going. Now, since we established in 2015, we've been managing hotels. Currently, we are still managing the Renaissance in Pattaya. So we are one of the first one that we manage on a big brand, as well as the Swiss Hotel here in Bangkok. And we've been doing quite well, and happy to report that two of this now we are not making any loss. So with the Pattaya, we have not made a single loss during the COVID. And currently, with the one in Bangkok, the Swiss Hotel, we also not going into the negative number. We have been positive for the last couple of months now, and looking positive, moving to finish off the year. Okay, now this is what we do. In addition to the bigger brands, we also have the local managed hotel, but the smaller property in Phuket and in Amphawa as well. This is who we are. Now, quickly moving on, why should owners consider franchising? I think, first of all, as I have mentioned, we are not a big company. Okay, for a boutique operator like us, we actually take the owner first approach. We have more time. We have a stronger rapport with the owners. We will guide the owner on the brand requirements and how to leverage from the brand channels. That's one of the key part. In addition to that, I think many of our colleagues have actually mentioned agile. we are flat in terms of the command, the chain of command. We agile. We can react very fast to the situation, especially in a time of crisis, given the circumstances we are in right now. Okay, we don't have a complicated way of making those decisions. Okay, having said what I've just said, that it doesn't mean we throw out the brand standard out of the box. Okay, we take care of all of that, all the important part. Now the last one I've mentioned about this, and some of the colleagues mentioned about this, the economical side. Is it cheap? Is it cheaper? Well, it is. It could be. It could be. Depends on how we structure the fee, and also if we can actually cluster. Now, the international hotel brands talks a lot about clustering. Now, the clustering works very well in US, in Europe, when the demand is actually over the supply, when even some of the cities in Asia, when you're looking about 80–85% occupancy year round. But there are certain cities when there's actually less demand and more supplies. So clustering become more of a forum when there's a very aggressive fight, and sometimes there's not enough love to be shared with every single owner. So how would that work? I think we can approach, we can look economical, we can structure the fee, we can look at some of the finance, sales, marketing, revenue, as well as some reservation, as well as purchasing, alliance and collaboration from here, which I'm happy to tell you a bit more in terms of how we're doing it, if anyone ever interested. But I think it's got to do with how many brands do you have. If you're having a franchise of the Marriott, it is going to be a challenge of clustering that with the Hilton or the Accor, which we have. So how do we actually clustering some of this and bring synergy towards some of this? That is the key. And maybe as a third operator, we could do this when the owner have multiple brands. Now, what are the key pitfalls? There are many. Okay, but I just want to let everyone know, first of all, as a franchise, you don't get HR support. You're talking about talent acquisitions, you're talking about retention. Some of these areas here, you have to understand as a franchise owner going out, if you don't really have the strong local knowledge, you're not going to be able to bring in the talent. I'm not talking about the general manager, I'm talking about the front line all the way up to the managerial level, up until the XCOM level, to, of course, to the top level. So you need to know where the talents are within the local community. And also that will be the key to the success. And being the PCL, being in the market for a while, and I've been working for big company for over 20 years in Asia, including Shanghai, Hong Kong, Macau, and of course here in Thailand. We can find and sort out this talent. Second, some of the owners do not understand this, but actually we don't get financial support, no accounting support. So the SOP, the process of accounting, if you go with the franchise, the Hilton or the Marriott or other big brand, I can mention IHG, etc., will not pass you along how you should be doing accounting. So uniform accounting, 11th editions, you basically relying on your DOF, which is not good enough. You need to have a better audit on this. So this is where the third party actually coming in. Now, understanding how to leverage all the sales channels. This is very important from the revenue generation standpoint. It's not good having a brand, but you do not know how to pull, how to pull all the leverage, how to actually engage, how to stimulate, how to really use the sale and commercial channels of the brand. If you don't do this, it's no point having a brand on the building. I think it's a waste of opportunity. So I think these are the pitfalls that I have to bring up. Now, quickly moving on. So when should you start engaging a third-party operators? When? Question. I think the sooner the better, in my personal opinion. It's all about selecting the right hotel brand and looking at it. So what it will be the best brand for the hotel, for the location, for the market. Bangkok will be different from Chiang Mai, will be different, I'm sure, from Hanoi. I'm very sure it will be very much different in Laos or Cambodia. So first, and if it is a renovation project, meaning a rebranding, you need to look into the PIP, the property improvement plan. So the project management of the PIP, looking at the understanding the investment involved in this is very important, as well as the design of the master plan for the newly built. PCL is very much pride ourselves being a very commercial driven, not only finding money for the operating hotels, but also about putting together a very strong master plan that will generate the maximum revenues from every single area, from the guest experience to the customer, from the guest journey, as much as the operational efficiency. So we actually have a technical team that we work with, that we actually have, that we can work with the owners. Okay, so the sooner the better. The better the plan, the more efficient the hotel is. Okay, that you can commercially be more successful, and also sooner the better when it comes to project budgeting. We can actually not only help with the operational budget, but we involve in financing of the budget as well. The constructions, which we are doing on regular basis at the moment, having the hotel, my company actually having 7 construction projects currently ongoing at the moment, including the renovation projects. So we very much a specialist when it comes to building the hotel and working with operators on and owners on being efficient from this area. Now, well, my thing is this: it's your success is our passion. This is what we do. We're only 5 years old, okay, and I think we have came a long way, and I'm quite sure we can be of service as the third-party operators is growing more and more interest, and we've been in the business 5 years. I think we have enough track records here to grow. We are a boutique operator. We are a boutique. We're not as big as some of my colleagues, but there are always benefit of working with the boutique operators. So that is it. Thank you very much.
Tom, thank you very much indeed. It's great to hear you're doing so much building. That must be why you've got the hard hat on the desk, just so it's so you have it there ready to go. Fantastic.
Ready to go.
Very ready to go. Thanks so much for that. Right, we've had some questions that have come in. I'm going to start with David. David Ray, still with us? Yes, David, hi. First one for you, please. What is the minimum number of keys required for franchises and by management companies, and why?
Okay, so that's a really interesting question. Typically, I've had a personal rule most times where I won't try and talk anyone with under about 120 rooms into a franchise, let alone a management contract. They just can't afford it to be the bottom line. You know, it just takes money off the bottom line of the owner's property. And there's got to be a better solution around that. That's where under 100 rooms, you're back to sort of mum and dad sort of trying to operate the hotel is what I think of. So that's the thing. Having said that, I have also, as a white label, not a white label operator, but a brand operator that had a lot of flexibility, signed up management contracts. We have one in Lombok where it's 65 rooms and we managed that and we branded that. So again, the developer was based in the US. We're doing one in the Maldives with, again, 90 rooms. The idea there being that those small size boutique locations, when you look at your base management fee, will generate just enough in terms of RevPAR to be able to have a smooth operation.
Thanks, David. Yeah, no, that's great. And there's always an exception to the rule, which is good too. There's always a way of making things work. Clarence, over to you. I really like your comment on owners and being close to owners. I'm sure you're close to a lot of owners. So I'm just really interested into your insight here in that, how big is the opportunity? Well, there's two questions here. One is, how big is the opportunity of white label for owners at a time like this? And what can you advise owners who are stuck in big management agreements and they need to do something else?
Right. Okay, I'll take the first question first in terms of opportunity. I think the opportunity is huge, right? As we mentioned on the panel, white labeling, third-party operators are larger and more predominant in UK, US. As you heard from Lada, it's definitely coming and making a way into the emerging Asia. And I do see that coming on in a big way, especially in the last 5 years when I was sitting on the other side with IHG. We were also looking at independents and individual hotels to try and convert them, which is why your pre-call to this, the previous to the sequel, we were talking about soft brands and why the big operators are entering into this space. So as such, I do feel that the white labeling is definitely a huge opportunity for us in Asia. What to do when you're stuck in a long-term relationship? Well, all the operators, thankfully, have been very kind to existing owners. They've been helping out in terms of fee waiver, in terms of less charges, and helping them manage cash flow. Right now, what you want your operator to do is to help you maintain your cash burn, because that's the only key to ensure survival, ensuring your cash burn is sufficient and right-sizing your business as you come out of the COVID on the other end. A lot of us are also familiar with long-term relationships and long-term contracts up for renewals. And this is when I think the owners now can have a better chance of negotiating harder and a bit more favorable to themselves, whether it's a lower fee, a franchise arrangement, or even a third-party arrangement. So those options are definitely available to all owners as they come out of their first or their second renewals.
Clarence, thank you. Lada Shelkovnikova, how did I do?
That was perfect. Thank you so much.
That was perfect. Okay, Bill, I'm just getting ahead of you always got to get ahead of the conversation. Hey, just a quick one for you, please. And I won't try it again, Lada. How can Clarence is clearly saying there's a great opportunity here for owners. It's close to many owners. But you were also saying in your talk that things are, from legislation, things are a little bit slow, and there's a lot of pitfalls. How can we make things go faster? This is not a time to be slow. People are desperate.
Yes, that's correct. Well, first of all, even with the existing legislation, you can still navigate if you just have to be a little bit more creative. As I said, nothing is impossible, even with existing legislation. Now, as the economy progresses, it is important then Association of Hoteliers reach out and ask for easement of certain restrictions, because as I said, some of them are pretty toxic for hospitality. But again, nothing is impossible, and we just need to, all the parties have to be just more creative.
Okay, thanks. Thanks very much for that. That's great. James, I know in the conversation that we had before, we talked about brands and brands sitting next to each other. How can you cluster brands? Just need to unmute, James. There we go.
Yeah.
How's it possible to cluster brands together?
Yes, it's possible. This we are already we have signed 4 properties under Wyndham brands already, and we are looking at the 5 another brands. In one of projects, we have IHG brand, Crown Plaza, and also Banyan Tree brand together. Okay, but it's managed by one management team, as I mentioned, which is normally is not allowed under brand direct management style, right? Right, but we can have this brands clustered and managed by one team, and that's again very unique management style to this market as well. Okay, and I think under current COVID situation, many owners and many hotels are suffered financially, and I think it's about time most of owners have to look into their way of managing the hotels in a different way for better financial and operational performance. Is we all third-party management companies, so Siamese Q-Grid management company are here to help them recover from this difficult time sooner and faster and better.
Thanks, James. Super, thank you. Lada, another quick one for you. It's a question that just come in. Which countries' legal frameworks do you find particularly difficult for franchising? Lada.
So on top of my head, it's Malaysia. There are some restrictions in Indonesia, in Vietnam, and South Korea. And there are recent regulations in Thailand as well. So we just have to look at, and they're all different, but we just have to look at which restrictions are micromanagement and how to bypass them to still comply with the law.
Sounds fantastic. Thank you. Tom, one for you here. You talked about sharing the love. We love to share the love. And it's nice to be sharing the love with the owners too. What sort of creative and innovative models are you finding that are resonating with, say, owners in Thailand?
Yeah, I think right now it's all about top line. So I think clustering and being able to leverage the top line and being creative, for instance, in a certain area like the revenue management, that is a highly skilled area, which actually lack of talent and very highly paid, meaning expensive. So that need to be able to leverage this, and also being able to understand the different channels. Now, people talk a lot about the loyalty programs. The question is, what is it? How do we leverage it, or how do we minimize it? What can we do with that? I think what we do here is about leveraging the top line as a key part. Another area that the owner is very keen and interested in is about sharing love on the theme is purchasing. Yeah, so how can we, most of the purchasing equipment, the cleaning equipment, yes, they are tool camp, but how can we leverage from this major expenses? So these are the two areas I like to bring out.
Thanks. It's always good to have those efficiencies in place. Bill Barnett, just break away from the election, refreshing. And what have you got for us? Would you like to wrap up? What have you got to say?
Well, I like to wrap up. I like to go for a drink. Actually, I want Tom's hard hat there. Being an American, hard hat. I think I'm going to need it. This guy is shot in the head. I think, just in summary here, I think what we're learning. What we're learning here is that's what I need. I'm going to need that for the next maybe 4 years. It's looking like that way. Okay, or Tasmania. Sorry. This is an exciting space because, let's not even talk white label. Let's talk about hotel management. What is the outcome of COVID on hotel management? Hotel management companies are shrinking. I mean, it's incredible right now. And to be honest, a hotel management company has to look at their fees. They have to look at their yield. At the end of the day, for hotel management companies to come out and say, well, if I make $500,000 with a management contract and I make $400,000 in a franchise, it costs me $150,000 to provide services. Do I want to even provide those services, or do I even have the resources? And to me, what that spanks up for many brands are coming to the understanding at the end of COVID, you get a brand and you get distribution. That's what you get. That's what you're buying. At the end of the day, because you don't have the staff or you don't have the resources. So that's what makes this whole discussion all the more profound, because who's going to provide, as Tom said, who's going to provide the human resources? Because frankly speaking, hotel companies are gutted for human resources now. There's no loyalty in this world, as we know. If you want loyalty, get a golden retriever, right? That's the only loyalty you're going to get this life. Because at the end of the day, hotel GMs are going right, left, and center. So you've got to learn to manage white labels, managing their human resources, managing their policies and procedures. But to me, this is going to change. It's not a white label discussion. It's a hotel management discussion. I can go back and look at Accor, and Accor says, we want to own the customer. We want to have multiple brands. I could do Marriott. Marriott has a different model. So that's what's intriguing. So I think watch this space. That's my message today. It's an exciting space, but we're not only talking white label, franchising, other options today. We're talking about the entire industry changing and doing a 360 about what's going to happen to that. So great, David. Thanks so much.
Thanks. Fundamental changes. We've got now and coming up for industry. I just wanted to say thank you so much for everyone. It's a wrap. Bill Barnett, James Kim, Lada, Clarence Tan, Tom Esprayun. It's been an absolute pleasure. Thanks very much indeed. Look forward to seeing you again soon.
Thanks,
Thank
guys.
you.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Bye.
guys.
David Wright. Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you.